Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the WGLNA Season 2 Gold League. I'm your host, Christian Toma. To my left, David Williams. I want to make a quick shout out to Black Paw NA, who's been in the chat getting hyped since 11 a.m. Thank you for that dedication, guys. Make sure to check us out on Facebook and YouTube /WGLNA. And as always, follow us on Twitter @WGLNA so you guys can stay up to date on what's happening in the community around you. One of the things that's been happening, if you've been paying attention, is we've got Quinn here in the studio. Quinn, how you doing?
Hey, Christian, I'm doing great.
Good.
First off, I actually want to talk directly to the viewers and tankers that we have. You are what makes all of this possible, so thank you. You rock. But if any of you have missed the last couple of shows, not a big deal. You are now able to ask any question you want to anyone here at WGLNA. And how this is going to work is at the end of each match, we're going to pick a question and we're going to answer it live on the show. So if you have anything you want to ask, hit us with it at WGLNA, #mailbag.
Thanks, Quinn. I'm sure it's going to be a great night, but you know what would make tonight better?
What?
If you were watching it on battleviewer.com
Hey!
for the same Twitch chat you know and love, plus easy access to our YouTube, Twitter, match listings, match standings, and as always, of course, Fantasy League.
That's right, guys. So go over there to battleviewer.com if you're not there already. Now, we are ending out the 8th week. We only have, actually, after this one more broadcast before the playoffs. So the theme of tonight is going to be drawing fire. Now, this is when you, as a tank, draw a shot out of an enemy tank. And David, what are the kind of the purpose of it? We're talking about more about it tonight, but what's some of the reasons?
A shot or shots.
Okay.
Now, maybe you want to get everybody to turn their guns towards you before your enemy or your opponent, your ally comes in behind them, or maybe you want them to get them to fire at you so that you can counter push and then get a free shot in, not having to worry about their damage.
All right, guys. So that is going to be the theme of the night. So kind of get your brains concocting your drawing out fire, because the question of the day, spoilers, is going to be about that. But before we get to that, let's see what happened on Tuesday's matches. Up first, we had Googlybobbers losing to Aquatic 1-5, followed by High Voltage beating Caller Wanted 5-2, 30 Clips beating Yo 5-2, and finally close out the night, Noble beating Ping 5-1. A lot of quick matches on Tuesday night. Let's go through these one at a time. Up first, Aquatic versus Googly, starting out on Ruinberg. Googlybobbers picking up a victory on defense, I believe it was, but then Aquatic came back, winning 3 there, ending the map 3-1. Went on to Steps, then Aquatic found their final 2 victories. Some things to remember from that first match.
A lot of these battles were actually fairly close, if I remember correctly, in terms of the actual amount of tanks left. But Aquatic M60 seemed to have a very firm grasp on what was going on most of the time. And I've just been very, very happy to watch their improvement game to game as the season's progressed.
Absolutely. It done fantastic job so far this season. Up next, a fun match, High Voltage versus Caller Wanted. Starting out on Muravanka, Caller Wanted brought a 416 with it seems like a very planned out strategy to go for that northern cap. High Voltage just said no, and they did not let them do that. Then High Voltage pulled some crazy mind game with some stealth A1 action bait. We'll talk about that in a second. Anyway, ended that map 3-1 there. Went on to then Ghost Town, which is a more amazing maps coming out from both those teams. Caller Wanted found a victory. High Voltage found their final 2. Some of the things to remember from that second match.
Well, a lot of the Ghost Town battles, all of the Ghost Town battles were just awesome. It's exactly what you want to see on one of those city maps.
Yeah.
People not really spending a whole lot of time just immediately finding each other and getting nasty.
Let's just go for it.
Brawls
Just
to
go
watch.
for
But
it.
Muravanka was something else. I mean, starting off with the 416 for kind of a flatter cap pressure didn't really work out as High Voltage pushed down the 1-2 line and immediately picked him off and just expanded that into a win. Then when it was High Voltage's turn, they kept 3 tanks all the way up there in A1.
If you guys didn't see it, you gotta watch it.
Until everybody was passed, drew Caller Wanted into the east, and then fast capped. I'm pretty sure they would have gotten it done anyways, but Wallhacks also got a clutch track shot on Aggressor on his way back to guarantee it did work, but a lot of interesting cheeky strategies coming out on that one.
Everything's super planned out. Also, that was the map that we had like the first Goomba of both seasons, so that was on Ghost Town there. So super fun. Really enjoyed that second match. Up next, we had a Yo versus Eclipse. Started out onto Steps. Yo going for the cap fast and it working out for the first time for them. Then Yo kind of going like that stealth mode strategy right down the center. It worked out where they picked up an I7, but they actually didn't end up winning that. I'm not sure what happened there. We can get into that. That ended up that map 2-2. Then moved on to Pro Rovka, where Eclipse just dominated, picking up 3 victories. Some things to remember from that third match.
Yo had a lot of chances to win on Pro Rovka, if you ask me. Just a little bit of shooting error. They really weren't connecting their shots the way they should, but they're playing a nice, dynamic, aggressive game, and I like that. And it's one of these things that when you watch, you can look at their scores, and their scores don't reflect how well they're actually doing. You have to take these steps You have to crawl, walk, run. You know what I mean? And they're right
Gotcha,
now firmly in the
gotcha.
walk phase, moving very towards the running phase. And if they can master this, they're going to be a very, very dangerous team in the future. But there's a lot of little nuances, and it's a big, big plateau to break out into that next step. A lot of teams break when they try it. So I'm looking forward, and I'm hoping for them and for all of us that they actually get it done, because it's a blast to watch when it's done right.
Well, good luck, yo, as you continue that. And finally, we had Noble versus Ping. 5-1 started out onto steps. Both teams picking up the victory on offense, but then Noble came back winning the next three. And then on to Muravanka. Noble found the final 2 victories. Pretty quick match there to end it out. Some things to remember for that 4th one.
Ping running some interesting step strats overall. A lot of splitting,
Aggressive,
which
yeah.
which it can work if your opponent isn't really counting tanks and keeping track of things. Because when you split that far, it's actually easy to grab in isolation. But you fluster people because they step into traps, and it looked like Ping was moving around quite a bit, and then setting up shop in places that are commonly pushed. You know, I'm very interested to see Ding and Ping play tonight because of that.
Me too.
Ding likes to push into a lot of those places Ping sets traps for, and then Noble just sitting on the other side, basically playing defense from both sides and making their opponent come to them. And for now, it's working with the artillery, but I like to shed some doubt on whether it will work forever.
Well, before we get into what happened tonight, got to remind you guys to go over to fantasywgl.com. If you're on Battlefield, which you should be there right now, push the button in the bottom right-hand corner, and that'll pull up the fantasy site. You guys can build your team of 7 players, and as they play, they accumulate points for you guys. You guys know how this works. Points lead to tons of prizes, in-game premium time, in-game gold, and in-game premium tanks like the Hype 59 that you cannot get anywhere else. So go over there right now and start doing that. Also, reminding you that we're doing Vulcan. We're partnering with them through the season, so go over to vulcan.com, use the code word World of Tanks for another WGLNA competition for even more prizes. So it's prizes on prizes, stacks on stacks. It's always a good thing. What you guys are seeing at the bottom of your screen right now are David and I's fantasy picks for tonight's 4 matches. David, kind of walk me through your thought process behind them.
I did pretty much the same thing I did on Tuesday. I put 1 in the Ping Noble match because it's Noble and they should win, and I expect either Canadian Impact, Militant, Dotema, Friction, one of them to get a bunch of
points.
a lot of points. Apparently, Friction showed up with some of the highest points per battle
First
out
time.
of anybody.
Yeah.
So good job.
Well
everybody.
done, Friction.
I'm obviously a little bit
Old
biased
teammate.
towards an old
Yeah,
teammate.
sure.
And Matt's Militant, sorry, is also an old teammate, so I always like watching him play. But either way, so I put the rest of my picks just pretty evenly spread in each match. They all have potential to be short or long.
On the
So I
winner's
wasn't really
side.
willing to take a big gamble on it, and just putting it on the winner's side because the people I'm picking for a lot of these teams, they're going to get points in the wins or the losses that they play. So
Just a
I'm
safe
fairly certain that I at least won't lose a lot of ranks using this strategy this time.
Well, you to my understanding, are now in the front page. You have made the top 50.
Yeah, I made it back to the front page. I got kicked off last Thursday, and I got back on Tuesday. Because I can't stay on the second page because our statistical expert Tim
Yeah.
will just not let me live it down.
No, and you actually overtook him. So that is not a small thing. I can also verify that the strategy of putting 2 on the winning side instead of kind of an even spread like last season, definitely what you should do. And you'd be like, oh, Christian, why are you so confident about this? Well, he has been doing that. I've been doing the even spread. He's in the top page. I'm not. Just simple enough there. So if you guys haven't done that yet, just pick some players on the teams that you think you're going to win, and that is the best way to go about it by far. Now let's take a look at what's happening tonight. The 4 matches for you guys. Up first is going to be Noble versus Googlybobbers, followed by Ping versus Ding. Then is going to be 07 versus Yo. And finally, to close out the night, High Voltage versus Aquatic M60s. David, of the 4 matches we have, which one are you most excited to see? And who do you think is going to take it?
I'm gonna have to probably go with maybe 07 and Yo. No, actually, sorry, High Voltage and AM60s. Of course. AM60s has been playing very well so far.
Really?
Can they handle a High Voltage to this point? High Voltage is starting to rebuild and getting
Oh,
there,
that's a Tuesday.
but still somewhat exposed to a high skill team like AM60s. Plus, if I've done my math correctly, and I'm remembering correctly because I did most of this on Tuesday, that High Voltage absolutely has to win this, or Simp will take their playoff bye straight into the finals.
Wow. Okay, so a big match for them indeed. That makes me want to watch that one too. Obviously, I'm really excited to watch Ping versus Ding.
For the rhymes?
Just for the rhymes.
Ping and Ding stepping
Ping
into the
and
ring.
Ding stepping into the ring. Yeah, exactly. This is why I'm so pumped about it, guys. Let us know right now in chat which match you're most excited to see, as we are now ending out our pre-game show. Thank you so much for joining us. Do not go anywhere. Match number 1 coming right up. So much damage going out onto him. On no one, though.
Going big.
Taking a lot of damage in the IS-7. The 2-6 is like, you think I'm a bad IS-7? Here, I'm going to take down an IS-7 there.
Happening.
Full crows, final kills. Andy Panzo now is kind of caught out. He should be going down here any moment now. 307 going back in. Executive actually takes a shot over on the other side. Flack picks up Andy Pans. Full crows, though, finds Akumi. And now Simple Tankers is only down to 5 tanks. Oh, and a lot of damage going on to Commander J there. From the back, one more shot, and it's gonna be more going down. Fix Reloaded might have that. He does. He takes him down in that T-22, and that is the first tank fallen for Eclipse. But Color Wanted has been bleeding HP left and right. Tiger takes on Fixer. Draw Cab takes down Aggressor, and that is now a 2-for-1 exchange in favor of Eclipse. Tigers doing a fantastic job lighting people up in that 50B as Brett takes down Dr. Halo. Druck finds Stealth. Master of People finds Magenta Panda. And it looks like Eclipse is going to take this victory. It's going to be their 5th, and they're going to find... trying to come back. They need to tie it up right now, or it is all over for them. Fosta barely holding on there with just 65 points of HP. Akula finds Warbander. Germ takes down Makos. 2 tanks going down for 07. Noble trying to come back, and that's a 3rd. Akula takes down Vetro as well. Milton will be going down to ZXFT. So much damage, so many shots going out here. 730, over 1,100 into Commodore, but he finds Germ. ZXFT finds Akula. 07 is coming.
Where did Wellhacks go? Around a rock to guarantee he can't even spot where Vetro is. But now he does. He backs up. Let's see if he's interested in getting into this fight at all. And Wellhacks no longer cares about anonymity, as distracting Vetro is actually a good thing, because here comes Ox right in from behind, and a nice wombo combo
Just
perfectly
enough
played
time.
from Wellhacks and Ox.
Wow. Oh, this could be high voltage. This could be 07. I'm not comfortable to call it yet.
It's on Wallhacks to come in and get the reset at the right time. Tiger Thief cannot overplay. He's the one that has to stay alive. He can shop for maybe 1 shot after people turn for Wally, but Wally has to suicide scout. I'm not sure the timing is there.
He got the reset!
8 seconds left. Wally's got his own 7
He's
seconds.
taking an attack!
He picks up Synergy 3K, and it looks like High Voltage might stay alive.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the WGLNA Season 2 Gold League. I'm your host, Christian Toma. To my left, David Williams. Make sure to check us out on Facebook and YouTube /WGLNA. So you can stay up, so you guys can watch some sweet videos that Badco puts up there. And also follow us on Twitter @WGLNA, so you guys can stay up to date on what's happening in the community around you and answer for us the question of the day.
Which is, what is your favorite Tier 10 tank
To draw
fire
with? It would, for me, it'd have to be the E100. Whenever I play that tank, I feel like I don't even do it on purpose. You just drive around and people shoot you, and you don't take damage. And if you do, it's like meh.
This one's somewhat closely connected to the whole angling and armor stuff we've talked about in the past. The E100 is a great choice there. Sometimes I might have gone with the E5, but right now I'm going to have to say it's the M48. The armor isn't necessarily there as much, but it's a little bit faster than an E5, and I find it just incredibly easy with its depression and everything else to dodge a lot of shots from people. I'm having a blast playing it lately. Thanks to Ox Mathis for recommending it, because it's been great.
Hey, thanks, Ox. Great job. Guys, let us know right now which one you think is the best Tier 10 tank to draw fire out with as we're getting ready to go into our first battle. Before we do that, let's take a look at the standings as we are ending out our 8th week. Up top is High Voltage with 25 points, followed closely by Noble and Simp, tied at 23. And then Eclipse down there in 4th. Car Wanted, Rival, Aquatic, M60s, and 07 all right now in those 8th positions. Those top 8th guys are the ones that are going to be going into the playoffs. So those are the ones you guys want to be looking out for. David, you have something to say about the standings and the points?
So Noble has to win this match, and their Simple Tankers match in order to guarantee that they can stay
in the finals.
From according to my math, because Simp has 1 game left to play against Googlybobbers. They'll probably win that, which will put them at 26 points. Which, if Noble wins or loses both these games, they'll be below that. High Voltage also has 1 match left to play against AM60s tonight. So AM60, Simp, and High Voltage all need to win all of their final games, and if they do, then the rankings will be Noble, High Voltage, and Simp, but if they don't, Simp could pop into that place. So right now, Simp's just trying to get it done tonight against AM60s. Or sorry, High Voltage just trying to get it done tonight against AM60s. Simp just going to have to take down Googlybobbers and then pray.
Wow. Well, big games, and the first one is going to be Noble versus Googly. On the side of Noble, we have Comps. On the side of Googly, we have Viral. Gentlemen, welcome to the Face-Offs. Comps, I'm going to go ahead and start out with you. Now, as David said, winning these next games are super important to you guys for really guaranteeing that spot into the finals. Going into these final 2 games of the regular season, is there a lot more added pressure on the team, or is it just kind of everyone's calm, cool, and collected?
Everyone is pretty calm, cool, and collective. I mean, it's the, like 7th season we've been doing this, so we sort of know what to expect.
Sure.
And we're ready for it. So, I mean, it's same as usual.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, best of luck, guys, as you continue.
All right, Comps, what's your favorite Tier 10 tank to draw fire with?
Probably the IS-7. I mean, baiting shots with that tank is pretty easy. It's a master at baiting.
All right, wow.
You get them to try and shoot that front spoke, and then next thing they know, it's Shuka, and they bounce, and you laugh, and then shoot them back.
IS-7, guys. So there's another tank that you can think about and suggest. Well, thank you, Comps, for those answers. They were great answers. Viral, now over to you. Now, looking at the history of Googlybobbers of the season, it just seems you guys have had a tough time. How have you kept morale up as a team?
You just have to have fun. I mean, the team was honestly built, or this iteration of Googlybobbers was built around just a group of friends who would want to take the game a bit more seriously and doing the competitive side, and like just making it this far really was great for us. I mean, we got paid to play video games.
Seriously, seriously. How many people can say that? I love that absolutely attitude, Viral. Thank you so much for sharing.
Pennies per hour.
How many people can say that? Yeah.
What's your favorite Tier 10 tank to draw fire with?
I would actually have to go with the 263. A lot of people don't understand how effective or how thick some of that armor gets, so you can just kind of give them the top of the tank. They'll sit there, bounce, or they'll high roll on their penetration and crush your dreams.
So yeah, it sounds like it's a great tank to put your hopes and dreams into. Gentlemen, before we get into the battle, Comps, does anyone like to say to Viral before we get started?
As usual, good luck and have fun.
Viral, your response?
I mean, checking our notes here over any of the last things we can do possibly for the end of the season. All we can really do, as Negatron commented on, is try and stop Noble from automatically qualifying for the live finals. So
wow.
we'll give that a shot.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Best of luck if you guys try that. Best of luck to both of you gentlemen, and we'll see you shortly. It's a good goal to go for.
Always so many comments to respond with when we have these kinds of things. But I'm going to leave it at that. So there you have it. Noble really hasn't changed their roster a whole lot, except they brought on Friction somewhat recently, who is doing a great job so far. And Googlybobbers bringing on a couple of old Elevate guys, which we've talked about a little bit in the past. But let's get into the pre-match screen. From FantasyWGL.com, Noble has played the most games on Cliff. They use the bat chat the most, and Canadian Impact is their leading scorer overall. But tonight it may be a little bit different. Different teams, different success stories.
Sure.
They are arguably the #1 team in the league, and Googlybobbers are currently in 12th. They prefer Steps and the 140, and Viral is their #1 player.
Truly a David and Goliath situation right now between Googlybobbers and Noble. Now, I really enjoy what Viral said about the way they keep morale. This kind of team was based around friends who just really enjoyed the game and wanted to kind of take it a little more seriously. And I feel like whenever I've played this, it's so much more. I feel like you just do better when you're having it's a fun time versus like everyone just screaming at each other and yelling at each other.
It's certainly more pleasant.
Sure, yeah.
So it's easier to forget the times where you're not doing better.
All right.
So I think you're onto something there.
All right. I guess that's true. It's kind of like the oh man, every time I wash my car it rains, but you're only remembering that because every other time you wash your car it hasn't rained.
It's classic confirmation bias. But who cares? If you're having fun, you're having fun.
There's a psychology class right now. We're back in the world of tanks. Ladies and gentlemen, the first match is about to get underway. It is Noble versus Googlybobbers, starting out onto Prorovka. Let's get right into it and take a look at what we've got for tanks.
Noble with an IS-7 and E5, a 142, T22s, a TVP, and an RU-251. Googlybobbers with 2215s, a 260, 2 T22s, a TVP, and another RU-251. So bottom half of both of these teams looking exactly the same.
Very similar.
Googlybobbers going very heavy for an offensive play on this map. See if it is able to work out for him. there's a good chance Noble will have to be somewhat aggressive in order to kind of bully this around. But now that I look at it a little bit more closely, it's mostly, if you're getting into differences in tanks, it's mostly a 260 versus a 140. So perhaps that 260 will allow them to get through some of their introductory cost, which will make it easier for them to push in this kind of area. Noble's going to focus here on the 5-6, somewhat of a classic Prorovka strategy with Dodom all the way back there at A6 for control and support, friction all the way back at the rock. And this is something I'm actually somewhat familiar with, and it has a lot of strengths to it. They're able to flex all over the place depending on what Marsh sees, as it's fairly easy with the timetables, or at least it was at Tier 8.
Okay, so older strategy.
Yes. That it's pretty easy to get wherever you need to be. You just want to spot where your opponent is, meet him head-to-head, and then once you have those kind of head-to-head positions rehearsed, you know where to go. Looks like Noble changing it up a little bit, mostly wanted to go east. That is the faster path, so perhaps there is a little bit of timing difference between that and Tier 8, or perhaps they just don't want to go head-to-head. It's just a bit rough. And against a team like Googlybobbers, you can probably get a good amount of soak damage on them when they cross. So right now, you've got one all the way up there at the B5 rock. That's friction. And another one in the same spot we've seen 07 when they were playing against Noble, using one of their I7s to guarantee they can get the cap resets. So this is just sort of a northeastern camp.
Okay.
Takes advantage of a lot of the most defendable areas of the map.
Okay, like giant rocks, as we can see there. Or?
Well, yeah, so this rock allows a good bit of cover, but now that you have two heavies in this area, you can pretty much guarantee you shut down the 1 cap. With the positions they have on the 2 cap with so much weighted into the middle there, they're looking pretty good as long as they get intelligence or spotting on the tanks that are coming in. That's the key, especially given how slow Googlybobbers' lineup is for the most part. You're not going to push just the mediums across by themselves. The 215s have to be there in support to a certain extent. Down in the southeast, there are 2 tanks split for Googlybobbers quite a bit. You can somewhat support them from where Sovereign Zool and Zone Delta are here in the E3 kind of area, but it's not as great of a shot as you would expect.
Okay, so looking at what Googlybobbers has to do to kind of break this, what is a weakness of the strategy that Noble is running, if there is one?
There isn't a gigantically glaring weakness aside from coming directly up the 7-8 with some sort of distraction play, or perhaps you could go across the southern side of the ridge and then jump directly on those mediums. But it depends. If those mediums see you coming, fall back to positions further in the town, they can make it take a long time to get them, which is going to allow those heavies to come in from behind. So there are a number of different options. None of them are great. It would take something with quite a bit of finesse to break a strategy like this. So I'm actually pretty stoked. I like this. I like this quite a bit, and I'm interested to see if anybody's able to break it. If they are, it more likely be a fumble on Noble's part, because strategies like this are somewhat concrete. You can kind of set up from here, and then once you've practiced something like this, you can learn how to get a little bit more aggressive. You learn more about the timing of that particular strategy. But Akula giving up 656 here in the middle, allowing Googlybobbers to get a little bit of an HP lead, which isn't quite enough yet for them to get some sort of transition. But they could. Now, there is another weakness that I'm seeing a little bit here, but it's an uncomfortable one. If you can get tanks to sit along that ridge and suppress the middle so that the mediums can't come up and over.
At all?
They will. They'll take the damage to come in, but you want to do a lot of damage while they do.
Okay.
Then you could possibly get isolation on where Canadian Impact and Friction are.
Oh.
But it's not super reliable. Now that Akula has moved a little bit further in the north, it's even worse because most of the mediums are going to be coming from 2 sides. It starts very quickly getting into a very uncomfortable thing to aggress upon, and you have to have rehearsed it a lot. Everybody on the team has to understand all of the different little variables here, or you just break on something like this. This is a very solid camp overall.
All right, so Noble showing a very, very concrete defense coming in here on Prorovka. We'll see what Googly can do to respond. It's down to 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Over half the battle is gone. Not a lot has been done to Noble. Some positions taken. I mean, Googly does have control of the, I guess, some control of the western side of the map. A little bit of a hill play coming on from both of these teams. Viral in that T22, kind of pushing Germ off in his T22. Urtai still just sitting back in the R251, starting to rotate back around. This might be looking like Noble's. Are they moving to the north? Let's see. Shot there coming up from the T22 on top of the hill. No, looks like they're just kind of repositioning, not in a rush at all. Googlybobbers is the one who has to pull the trigger. Again, they are on offense. If they do not cap or destroy all members of Noble,
Now
Noble will take it.
this is a bit confusing to me, but maybe we'll see the intent here in a second, where Noble is bunching a lot of their tanks and basically ceding control of the middle away. They must be trying to draw Googlybobbers over the middle to get a lot of damage. Sovereign Zool taking 10-24
Wow.
plus 358 just in one little poke over the middle, so that shuts down a big part of the hit point pool from Googlybobbers. They're all going to push in and try and take that pick on Destruction Mang's T22 in the middle.
Looking right now, 866 going from the side, 13-10. You see a couple more shots, 16-34. One more should be able to end this T22. And Destruction Mang might be going down. Googlybobbers trying the best that they can. Milton's going to pick that one up in the 140. And that is the first tank of the match gone for Googlybobbers. Let's see how they kind of either recover from that or how Noble makes that snowball get even bigger here. 2 minutes and 5 seconds on the clock. Oh man, only 120 seconds for Googlybobbers to do something.
So Googlybobbers really needs to get a little bit more motion out of the eastern side. They just allowed Noble to pile up into a place where they couldn't be spotted from and fire heavily onto the middle. So a risky play, but perhaps they had some sort of triggers there.
Militant.
And Militant going down to the zone deltas TVP. That opens up a little bit more options for Googlybobbers. The hit points are still in Googlybobbers' favor if they can maintain the course. Identify where more of these positions are. The answers are there. It's just whether they're going to take the risks to get that information. But if they do not, it will look like a fairly easy hold for Noble, as certainly starting to run down on the amount of time that it's going to take to just do that amount of hit point damage.
Again, David and Goliath, ladies and gentlemen. 7 Tesla moving in, taking a lot of shots. 780 going to that 5B. Canadian Impact should be going down there. He's just going to do his best to try to get as much damage as he possibly can. 354 into the front. Here comes a shot from VLM. VLM does take him out before he gets his shot off. And Akula getting focus fired for over 800 points of damage in his T22. Googlybobbers now increasing that HP lead by over 2,500. They're doing a fantastic job, but they only have 60 seconds to do something. They need to remove these final 5 members of Noble or take advantage of that cap pressure right now. Friction just kind of holding his own right by the rock, taking the shot there. Not sure if that connected on the viral or what, but he did leave a little bit of damage in that E5. But one more, he'll be going down. Urtai picks him up from the side in the RU-251, and that is just going to be 4 tanks from Noble remain. Googlybobbers know that it is now or never. They are starting to push in. 7 Tesla and VLM are the ones who are first to go over this railroad in those 5Bs. Google also starting to apply some cap pressure, but I'm not sure they have enough tanks to do that. They need to take down Akula, Dodo, Marsh, and Germ here. And it looks like Dodo might be going down, but he's going to do his best to take down Viral before he does. Marsh can't support him from on top of the hill. And that RU-2, no, Marsh is just on the run. He's been told to get out of there just to make sure that they cannot wipe Noble completely out as Dodo goes down to VLM. Akula should be falling here, but with 7 seconds on the clock, no cap pressure going, and Marsh long gone in the wind. This is going to be Noble picking up the first victory of the night here onto Prorokka against Googlybobbers. So looking at how that was going, yeah, you add another 2-3 minutes to the battle, and Googlybobbers could have had that, but Noble doing a great job kind of burning the time off of them.
Could have. Let's get into stats first, then we'll discuss all the different permutations. For as long as we have time left. I knew I should have switched out Impact for Akula. Akula tends to go absolutely nuts in battles against teams with lower ranks. And
there
we'll
it
see if
is.
he's able to carry that on for this time. 39-57 out of Akula, 1,700 out of Donoma, almost 1,700 out of Friction. German 1,500 and everybody else below that. For Googlybobbers, 2,700 out of 7 Tesla,
Wow.
2,700 out of Zone Delta, 2,500 out of VLM, 2,000 out of
Jeez.
Viral, and everybody else falling below 1,000.
Good
Although
damage there.
Airtie getting in almost 1,000 on his own. So yeah, once you get into timing discussions, and this is always a big deal when you talk about different formats, 8 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes. Who knows whether Noble would have made those rotations
If
at those points in time.
sure.
It looks to me
Sure.
like they understood the timing that they were getting with. They took a big risk there because the timing, had Googlybobbers been more aggressive about what they were doing, the timing would have been fine. They would have caught him. It would have been game over. Noble would have lost. But that's is a
Would,
weird word when you
could.
get into tanks because it's just like chess. Well, if I had gone here, I would have won.
Like, well, I
Maybe.
would have done this,
I would have
though.
done this, and then I
Yeah.
would have done that. You get to that kind of annoying theory crafting discussion that always happens, where nobody's
It's not
willing
annoying.
to see that they may have made a mistake somewhere.
Humility.
So a great defense that they then rotated around for some reason, trying to get some early shots. Maybe some logic there that pans out in some cases and it just didn't this time.
Okay.
Or maybe they had the timing on lock. Hard to say. They certainly could have easily held from where they were. and then decided to move around, and it gave Googlybobbers the room they needed to come in. If Googlybobbers were being more aggressive, they could have won that one.
All right. Well, now, ladies and gentlemen, we are switching sides. Noble is now on offense. Googly on defense. Let's get right into it and take a look at what we've got for our tanks.
Noble with an E5, a Bat Shadow 142, T22s, a TVP and an RU-251. Oh, okay. Googlybobbers the 260, 2 E5s, 2 T22s, a TVP and an RU-251 of their own. I'm actually surprised that Noble isn't bringing artillery this time around.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe I shouldn't be, gauging off of the last game we saw, because they had a perfect camp. They decided to get rid of it. Not perfect, but close to perfect camp with the right responses. You know, it's hard to call a camp necessarily something, or that a camp, because you start out camping, but there are responses for different things. So you do kind of, it's more of a responsive strategy. Defensive
I like
response,
that.
defensive
Responsive
opportunistic. We'll figure out some verbiage for that eventually. But I expected them to kind of do the same thing. It's always kind of been more their preferred style to put pressure on people and make them do stuff and just kind of bleed damage on them while they do. But apparently they're going to play a little bit more aggressive all around this match. Marsh taking a little bit of fire, and Googlybobbers stepping up in the middle and looking for those good shots.
See if they can find him. Zone Delta is spotted out. He's taking a lot of damage. 668 there. If that 50-51, he decides to clip and go back down immediately, but he's taking even more. 648 again, over 1,200 damage there in that TVP. Zone Delta's got to be careful. Finally backing up. Sovereign Zool coming to block some shots there. Blocks 317 for him. 433 going to destruction. Mang Noble doing a great job finding these little shots there on the Googlybobbers right in the center. I feel like I'm hearing some tracks going on. Maybe Sovereign Zool there, that 260. 937 going to Sovereign right there. Already backing off. I mean, I would if I popped up there and over half my health just disappeared like that. Noble finding the shots that they need, and Googly just not really. I mean, look at Noble. They haven't lost much HP at all. Even Milton's getting in from the side in that bat chat. Looks like he's up atop of the hill there. He's firing down onto Viral, who is still spotted out. Zone Delta. One more shot in that 50-51. Looking for Militant. Doesn't get a single point of damage onto him. And now let's see what happens from here. David, I mean, after doing that much damage as Noble, you're on offense. Is this a good time to push, or do you still just want to wait for Googly and have it keep going?
They have enough intel to start slowly pushing down the one line and guarantee they have that control. Again, this is somewhat of an older strategy with some modifications, especially Germ and Militant's positions. Militant looks like he got in a pretty easy clip there. Destruction Man going to get absolutely lit up. We'll talk more about the overall strategy at the end of this match. Destruction Gang falling to Germ, and Googlybobbers have had enough of this. They're going to get it over with one way or another.
They're just pushing right now, trying to find anything that they can. The first one that's right in front of him is Canadian Impact. Let's see if he goes down, or 7 Tesla will fall before 7-26 going into that E5. Canadian has only a couple more shots left in him. VLM getting ready there, but no! Annihilated to 7 Tesla. Germ picking that one up there. A beautiful focus fire coming out for Noble. Dodo taking a shot. Friction doing some damage there, taking down Sovereign Zool there. Marsh barely holding on to his life. 94 points of HP there in that RU-251. Now VLM got it going head-to-head. Canadian Impact bullying him right to the center. So many shots. Oh, just barely missing there from Noble. VLM might be able to take down Canadian Impact here with a shot if he has enough time, but Friction saves Canadian Impact's life. Germ takes down Urtai. Viral, though, is going to try to do what his teammates could not and take down that E5, but Noble sees it. They take him down as well. Canadian Impact is still alive with 14 points of HP, and it is just Zone Delta. Oh, no, there he goes. Dodo picks him up there, and Noble clean sweeping Googlybobbers, having all 7 tanks of theirs up at the end. Now up 2-0 on our first match of the night. So right in the beginning there, obviously, Googlybobbers poking up over the side to get some vision, but just took a lot of damage. Didn't immediately back off, which was interesting to me. I mean, maybe you can explain why you wouldn't after poking up there and taking damage. Guys, this isn't working. They're all here. Let's reposition. We're on defense. We can take our time.
Let's do that after the stats.
Yeah, maybe we should start making that thing. Stats question.
Akula, again, with 3,200. Friction with 3,000. Canadian Impact with about 2,500, 2,000 out of Dodoma, 1,500 out of Militant. Germ with some snipes, but a couple different pickoff kills there.
Nice.
And Marsh about 252, but mostly doing some scouting in that round. And there you kind of have it of how helpless essentially Googlybobbers was from the get-go there. About 1,600 out of Viral, and everybody else below 1,000. So why would they press there at the end? No good reason. Why would they
kind of more in the beginning.
Stay up there in the beginning? There are some decent reasons, but once they started taking a lot of damage, that guy, whoever was getting lit up there, was actually tracked. I believe it might have been Zone Delta jumped a clip because he had to take a little bit too long in the autoloader. And this is kind of the double-edged sword of the autoloader is you want to get out of those shots, or you're not really worth it.
Stay in the danger.
So you stay too long, and it's always tricky when you know the right time to peel off. Sometimes And it's always fun in after actions because sometimes you may fire 3 times and then clip and run, and that's the perfect move. And then other times you fire 3 times and then clip and run, and then they counter push, and then the team's mad at you because you didn't have those last 2
Guys,
shots.
why did you clip?
But I mean, that's just something you just got to make mistakes to learn, and you never get it perfect. You always have to take a gamble when you press the clip button early, by a little bit.
You're just trying to think. Again, like chess, you're trying to plan out what's happening.
Yeah. In that last strategy, well, it looks like the battle's getting started, so we'll read off the tanks, and then we'll maybe describe it a little bit more.
All right, let's get right into it now. Noble back on defense, up 2-0 against Googly. Let's get right into it and take a look at what we've got for tanks.
Noble denies 7E 50142 T22 is the TVP in the RU251. So again, the same strategy they ran last time, and same story for Googlybobbers with 2215s, 2260s. Sorry, 1260, 2 T22s, a TVP, and an RU251. So both teams running the same things they ran in game 1. And so we'll take a moment here to explain, as I'm sure Noble is going to. All right, they're going to move and they're going to take the western side this time. So last time they went east, this time they went west. It's a possibility that spawn locations have a role in that as well. They used to. Sometimes our strategies were simply just decided by where tanks spawn, because they all spawn in the same group, but the order in which they spawn is different.
And you do have like 30 seconds in the beginning to talk about it.
You save 5 to 6 seconds sometimes, and timing is huge, especially on this map. So, Googlybobbers spotting only Dotemu, so they have some intelligence about what's going on over here. And that last strategy was basically a very, very simple to run, but difficult to execute strategy from Noble, where Canadian Impact's tank either gets up close to where Sovereign Zul is now and it provides them the intelligence they need to swing around and get the other angles, or what happened last time is Googlybobbers will try and take that early pick and instead get lit up by everybody that's down the southwest. So it's a combination
mind game.
It's an even balance between defensive and aggressive. So it's not blindly aggressive or crazy. It's the right amount of aggression, the right amount of defensiveness with a trap built in, rotations probably pre-planned, and that is an excellent style of gameplay to have. It's probably the theoretical best.
Yeah, you kind of the best of both worlds.
Well, no, now that I think about it, it would be the practical best. The theoretical best is like a blind out aggression where you don't make any mistakes and the timing is perfect.
And it's a 7-on-1.
But it's undoable. It never happens perfectly. You will give up some games. So this is a nice balance. It's what I would consider a perfect overall strategy. So Noble, just in 1 week playing Prorovka, leaps and bounds better than last time. And you can see just the amount of control that they've got so far. They've made that contact east. They decided they didn't want it. They rotated away. Nobody even took damage. Now they're going to get a pick on 2 tanks in the western side, or eastern side, as Noble finding Viral and Ertai left out hanging out to dry.
There we go, the T22 and the RU251 might be going down. Dodo lighting up Ertai, joined by the rest of Noble, and Germ is going to finish off that scout while trying to run as best as he can. Not sure if he's got track there, but he is not moving quick enough. Over 1,000 points of damage there. Milton making sure he cannot go anywhere in that 140. Marsh even coming to join the battle, but Milton is going to finish him off, and that is, Dave, like you said, 2 tanks already being picked up.
And now here's the second trap. Canadian Impact and Friction looked lonely, but they're not. Here comes Noble to pick off the rest of Googlybobbers as they dive on the last remaining tank.
Traps on traps for Noble here. Canadian Impact now getting swarmed by Googly, but it's all what Noble wants. 14-13 going into that IS-7. Now 17-16, 2,049. And VLM has to turn it a different way. It's going to be Destruction Man. Looks like going to finish this one off here. But Dodo takes down Sovereign before he can. Destruction finally picking off that I-7. The first tank falling for Noble, but Googlybobbers is already down to just 4. 7 Tesla, VLM, Destruction Mang, and Zone Delta. VLM getting surrounded, now being pushed by Noble. Marsh coming up in the RE251 to try to find some shots himself, as they know where all the members are. Scouting now is irrelevant. Milton takes down that 5B. Germ finds Destruction Mang. Zone Delta will be going down any minute as 7 Tesla picks up Milton. Akula taking down that 50-51. Leaving just 7 Tesla to fall. Noble finishing that victory with 5 tanks still alive. You absolutely nailed it. Control. And that is exactly what that was from Noble. There was nothing in there that Googly did that did not have a response that was already planned by them. Just a fantastic play coming out. And we always kind of see how, looking at stats and then question, right?
Yes.
Stats and then question.
Germ on top this time with 3,500 in his T22. Dotemu 2,600. Friction 2,400. Akula call it about 1,900. Militant with 1,600. Canadian Impact and Marsh falling below that 1,500 line. For Googlybobbers, 7 Tesla with 2,000. VLM with about 1,600. Zone Delta, about 1,500. And everybody else following directly below that line as well. That's all we have for the statistics.
Now, when you see, usually when we've seen lower scores on a team, you say, oh, that's a strategy that didn't quite work out. In this situation, it was a strategy that worked out, but for Noble in that sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you just summarized such a difficult thing to describe in the sense of Googlybobbers didn't get to run a strategy. Not really. They played the strategy that Noble wanted them to the whole time. And that, to me, is what the #1 team, the reigning champs in the league, look like. And they're shaping up.
Like you're playing
It
our
reminds me
game.
of last season, where I criticized them so much at different parts of the season, and then they start getting near the end, and all of a sudden they start playing faster, more aggressive, and
This
so
is
much
us.
better.
And they won, and then they won the season. So, I mean, coming back from that, and again, the idea, we talked about this too, when you are making a team play your game, and it just, that's got to feel great for Noble. I feel like that takes you whatever the opposite of tilt is, like mega morale territory, like that's got to be it. Like, hey, we just executed a strategy beautifully. This is what it looks like. Like, let's just keep going. The question, obviously, of the night is, are we going to see, like, are they going to implement now this beautiful strategy with an artillery? We'll find out right now, ladies and gentlemen, as we're getting into the next battle. Noble on offense. Can they make it 4-0? Can Googly find one? Let's get right into it and take a look at what we've got for tanks.
Bobbers with a 2-1-5, 2 E5s, 2 bad shots, a T22 and RE251. That is a fairly aggressive lineup. Noble with an E5, a bad shot, a 140, 2 T22s, a TVP, and Marsh is back in the M40.
Marsh is back. So an aggressive lineup against an artillery seems, in my mind, beneficial.
Can be, depending on the defensive positions that Noble is using, and they're very likely to be pretty well set up to guarantee that the M40 isn't going to get picked off or really even come into play all that much. Basically, they just want to have fallback positions similar to their last offense, just without a scout, now an artillery.
Gotcha.
If they do that, there's no real easy way for Googlybobbers to close that distance and take advantage of that really fast brawl where they can get ahead in damage against an artillery just because it doesn't have the DPM. But both teams are going to split this map roughly 60-40 as Googlybobbers are going east to get away from that artillery more likely than not. That's not uncommon. If you wanted to bring an artillery into the east from the south, it's fairly easy to shut down and kill. As the western part is then exposed, you can slide down the tracks. You know what? We have the time. Let's
Map
bring
it
up
up.
the map. So,
Map it
say you
up.
put the artillery here. It's not hard if you've got everybody on the eastern side of this, because you could probably stop the line right about here, right? So it'd be like Noble and Googly. Googly could take some people and just work in through here. There's going to be very little Noble there. And then they can either proxy or get the artillery.
And
You start
bye-bye.
running down all this little area is not very good to have an artillery in for shots, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a good chance he's going to go west. Very good chance he's going to go in here. And then probably either into here or here as the match progresses. So Googly's just trying to use this natural cover from that artillery, which makes it a lot harder for them to get dapped by it. And
Wise.
there's still opportunities. Noble's probably rehearsed how to get them to poke here. That's probably the biggest kill zone for artillery based on the current angle, or here. And then you have some shots into these areas, but they're not particularly great. So it still always has the advantage of controlling certain strategic options, but not all of them.
Okay.
If Googlybobbers had gone into the west and had a carefully crafted way to break and aggress and draw shots out of Noble before attacking, Marsh would basically have to hit a direct hit for a lot of damage to keep Noble in the game at that point.
Wow.
But against Googlybobbers, they can probably take a pretty good guess that that's not going to happen. So in this situation, fine.
Fine to
We're
bring.
fine with it.
All right. Oh, Canadian Impact, though, taking 706 right now from looks like VLM and Sovereign Zool. Not sure if you got a piece of that action or not, but Canadian's got to be careful. One going right over the top of his tank. I think Vile is kind of letting those ones come out. And he's just, Dave, is he trying to draw out fire right now?
Impact's just trying to get in spots.
Okay. Oh, 7 Tesla getting hit by the M40, M43 there for a good chunk of damage. Now just barely above half.
You see, that's one of those 2 kill zones that we were talking about. That's what Impact is there for, to get those spots. And then Marsh is down at an angle where he can drop it in, because
Look at that.
we'll take the camera over there just very quickly so you can take a look at this. There is a grade as these things start to go downhill. So when you take into consideration the effect of angles, it's actually somewhat dropping down into them from here, which makes it a much easier shot to do a lot of damage on instead of splash. Plus, there's very confined areas where they're probably going to be against those rails because it's one of the best places to be instead of further away. But now, because Googlybobbers doesn't have anybody directly up against the rail on the opposing side, they can actually give some distance from it and be a little bit safer using the buildings, but these are all super nuanced little things.
Okay.
The only criticism I would have of the artillery is that against a lot of teams, you will force them onto one side of the map, which, if you don't have a good way of guaranteeing that you can hit those artillery shots, is then a problem. But if you do, you're fine.
Great.
They have Militant on cap, so they do, and they should be able to bring it home relatively soon. Whether Marsh did damage in this game or not is somewhat irrelevant because it contained the strategy to where they wanted it to, but Canadian Impact getting lit up for 700 as Viral and Zone Delta start diving on Militant.
They're getting the shot, 725 over 1,000 now. Zone Delta still has multiple shots left in that bat chat, but it's not going to matter. Viral finishes him off in his bat chat. 2 left in him, 1 more in Zone Delta. Dodo finishing off Zone before he can get another shot in there. Viral's final shot going to the back of Friction. 738 there. 6 tanks on the side of Googlybobbers, 6 on the side of Noble, but Canadian Impact barely holding on there. 1 more shot will take him down. Viral now getting focused by Noble. He's going to try to make it out. Not sure he's going to. Friction has a shot up, and he takes him down there. And just in case, another member from Noble is taking the shot on that tank, so he cannot get out guaranteed. 3 minutes and 25 seconds on the clock. Canadian Impact still alive. Germ lighting up Urtai right now. He's just going to go head-to-head right there. Comes over the hill, takes a shot, but does not care whatsoever there, and dodges one from destruction in his T22. Now Googly down to just 4. Noble still having all 6 up. And Marsh, I'm ready to see where he takes a shot. See if he can find him. Sovereign Jewel is lit up. VLM is lit up. 21 there. Looks like that was a splash coming out from there on that E5. Maybe.
Hard to see from my particular angle. Not that it matters a whole lot here, as Noble has a lot of options to counter push and pick up these last 4 tanks. Unless they're going to camp on the cap and try and draw more of them to them. And a lot of this is open because Googlybobbers ceded such control of the 1 line away in the beginning of the map. They'd not done that, there's a better chance they could survive this overall arty strat. Basically what 07 was running was a lot better at stopping this kind of thing, but one step at a time. Friction on cap, 30 seconds left. VLM starting to look for that reset. He's going to come down here towards the rock, looks like, for a little bit better cover and better angles to get those spots. Plus he can check to see if there's anybody else in that general area. He will take at least 1 shot from Akula to get this reset, but he can get the reset. And that could be a tricky proposition for Noble. Splash coming out for Marsh that didn't count for a lot, but Dodema and Akula adding up for all that missed damage. 1930 on VLM.
Man, almost instantaneously the E5 dropping down to 1 shot here. Noble now saying, let's forget the cap. Let's just take out these tanks. It looks like Germ and Friction now pushing up more to the railroads, taking a shot there on a 7 Tesla. 3 tanks remain. They see where Sovereign Zul's at, but Germ has to be careful. He pushes too aggressively over this 1 shot. Might be able to take him down. David in that T22. Let's see how much does he have? 534. Can a shot from 5B take him down one shot?
534? No.
All right, well then looks like Germ might be fine. Take down Sovereign Zul. Meanwhile, Destruction Mang taking down Canadian Impact. Let's see if he has a shot up in time. Can Dodo save him? Can Dodo save his teammate? Yes, he does. Dodo takes down Destruction Mang in the T22, saving Canadian Impact, who is still alive, ladies and gentlemen. Still alive. 16 seconds on the cap. It's going to be up to 7 Tesla and Sovereign Zul to not only reset this, but then run, as that is probably their best chance of surviving right now. Sovereign Zul taking 317 there from Germ. And this T22 now down to 8. Germ taking a shot. He knows now that he has a free one to pop over and take it onto Sovereign. He lines it up. He takes it. And at the same time, Marsh finds 7 Tesla. Noble going up 4-0 against Googlybobbers in our first match of the night. Theme of Pro Rovka with Noble, control. I mean, just on both sides, and different styles of it too, which is so fun to watch.
Yeah, it looks to me like a little bit of pre-finals, pre-playoff
intimidation
mind games. I don't know if you can call it intimidation. Doing certain things that allow battles to get close certainly cuts down the overall intimidation factor, but putting out that many strategies
that's the mind game part.
Confusing very quickly. If the enemy team is trying to counter strat as opposed to just running their own pre-formulated stuff.
So kind of making you play their game.
Let's check out the stats right now.
Let's do it.
then we'll talk about it as we go into the next map. Canadian Impact, 2,900. Thanks, buddy. Marsh getting in a lot of damage that time. 2,600.
Wow.
Very critical shots on the tanks that he hit. That made it a good use. Still a little bit of a problem with containment on the south side, but they managed it, and Googlybobbers did get away with some stuff. So overall, a much better way of using the artillery this time around. But again, depends on who you're playing and what strategy they're using.
Sure.
Akula with about 2,500, 2,600 out of his C-22. Dota with 2,000. Friction about 1,700 and 1,000 for Marsh. Militant down about 700 range. Viral with about 2,000. 7 Tesla with about 2,000. Sovereign Zoo with about 2,000.
All right, that is all that we have going on for Pro. We are now getting ready to move on to Muravanka between both these teams. So possibly seeing the artillery again coming out for Noble. Interesting to see kind of what Googly does. I mean, Viral, like you heard the face-off, he said this is their goal right now is just to stop Noble from possibly guaranteeing their position into the finals. They have to come back now and win 5 games in a row to do that. So it could happen. We've seen it happen before. Again, David and Goliath, huh? That was a crazy story, and that's where Googlybobbers is right now. So, I'm just talking, waiting for the match to start, which it is, ladies and gentlemen. So let's get right into it. Muravanka, Noble up 4-0, one more, and they'll close out their night. Can they do it, or can Googly keep it alive? Let's get right into it and take a look at what we've got for tanks.
For Noble, 2 E5s, a Bat Shadow 140, 2 T22s, an M40, M43, Googlybobbers with 2 Mouse, a Bat Shadow 140, 2 T22s, and an AMX 1390.
All right, here again onto Muravanka. That artillery is back for Noble. Let's see where they go. They are on offense, so not the easiest one to win here onto Muravanka. Obviously, defense is ideal. The Mouse coming in for Googlybobbers. The Mouse on Muravanka. Dave, what do you think that's going to be? What do you think is going to come to play?
Well, you could probably put it in the 1, 2, or 3 line kind of area, and just basically soak a lot of hit points with it. Give yourself the ability to counter push in that general
2 of them
vicinity. It can also soak up some of the damage from that M40, M43. Unless the M40 gets a really solid shot on it, it's not going to do enough damage to really scare those 2 mouths from poking around. It's everything else that's got to really add up. There's not a whole lot of huge alpha on Noble right now, and with a 2,600 hit point lead out of the gate.
That is a lot.
Well, almost 2,600 out of the gate. Kula has taken a little bit of damage. That makes Googlybobbers' options a lot better for counter pushing for that cap pressure, and it forces Noble to do a lot more soaking damage before they really kick off into a fight. Unless they start evaluating hit points and DPM, the mobility of the mouse starts coming back to haunt it, and it actually gets into somewhat of a technical fight where it's hard for me to say who has the advantage in a head-to-head at that point.
Okay.
Just due to where the engagements could take place. But if you just had flat ground head-to-head, I'd give it to Googlybobbers if everybody penned.
All right, well, let's see if that's Noble's play. Hopefully it's not, because it sounds like he'll be walking right into what Googlybobbers wants, which is putting a lot of those members, actually every single one except for a 140, way over on the west side here.
Oh,
now
that E5 could get caught out.
Mouse taking some damage as Viral and VLM. They're just going to continue to push. This is just, they're just going to push all the way through here. Sovereign Zul taking 331. What is Noble going to do? Will they be able to take down the tanks in time, or will Googlybobbers get right to him? Sovereign Zul taking over 1,000 in that T22. And now Noble starting to come in from behind. Canadian Impact and Germ might be able to do a nice little flank here on the Googlybobbers still, who have not done a lot of damage. Noble have already not only bridged that gap, but surpassed the HP gap as they are now up. Germ takes down Urtai, a 1390 gone. Not a huge tank for Googlybobbers, but that is one less they have that Noble does have. Sovereign Zul goes down the T22. Viral and VLM now getting shot by the 2 E5s. And a T22 driven by Germ from Noble. And it looks like this might be Googlybobbers just going down here. And it might be Noble's 5th and final victory. Friction taking down VLM here. Akula dropping low. 1474. One more shot. He'll be going down. Zotelda's is going to pick him up, but I'm not sure that is going to be enough here. Marsh also almost on reload. So if Noble cannot close it out before that, I'm very interested to see where that artillery shot is going to be going. 7 Tesla. Not a great place to be, my man. You are now up against Friction and Canadian Impact. Mars takes down Destruction. with that shot out of that artillery. 7 Tesla and Zone Delta all is left. Looks like Zone might be going here, as 7 Tesla will be going down for maybe a ram. Oh, no, I thought he was going for a ram on the Marsh. 7 Tesla should be going down any moment here. Militant finding Zone Delta, and ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it. That is going to be Noble picking up their 5th victory of the night, a much-needed victory indeed, to looking much better, to guaranteeing that spot into the finals. Finishing off there, congratulations to Noble. I feel like a completely different team exactly than what we saw on Tuesday, even just a week ago. Much quicker games, just as far as that control aspect.
Yeah, I'd say the first 2 games were a much different team. 3 and 4, not as much.
Going
5,
back.
not really at all. And there were some picks that Googlybobbers could have gotten there, but that was probably going to be Noble's game, given what Googlybobbers were doing. Just kind of out of the get-go. Moving up into the middle can get Mouse in a very difficult place, the worst place for the Mouse to fight, where it doesn't have any walls to back up against. You can kind of circle around it and poke, and it doesn't really survive at that point. But they did have an E5 they could have picked up that they may have been able to expand on with different positions. The lineup was not necessarily at fault, but that was pretty much unwinnable once they pushed on the 1 line.
All right, well then, congratulations for Noble for picking up that 5th and final victory. Googlybobbers, best of luck on the next attempt to stop an enemy team from getting into the finals. As we are now, before we go to break, getting ready to do a question from you guys from #mailbag. So Quinn, what do we got?
Hey, how's it going? Our first question comes from Indiana Lance, and what they would like to know are 3 different things. 1, do WGLNAers play from in-game or unlocked accounts? 2, are the crew skills max for all of them? And 3, are equipment changes free?
David?
Okay, so
First, unlocked accounts of their own.
They play on essentially unlocked specialty accounts, and they have all crew skills, and they're given enough, golden credits and everything to last the entire season long. So essentially, their equipment transfers and everything are free to them because they're supplied the gold and everything they need to do it. But you can't. The barrier of entry into the league would be so high if everybody had to have all these tanks. It would limit a lot of the strategic stuff.
The gold just
so
alone.
there you have it. That's how they all have T22s and 907s and stuff like that.
And that's why so if you guys want those tanks, just go pro.
Well, they can't play those in public matches. Only in practice and only during the league.
Oh, really?
The only accounts that they get that aren't their regular accounts that they can play outside of or in the public matches are their sheriffs, where they're giving you gold.
Ah, see, so it's time for you guys to get gold. All right, so that's part 1. Quinn, what was the part 2 of that question?
The part 2 was, are the crew skills max for all of them? And the third one, you answered that one. The third one was, are all of the equipment changes free?
Yeah, so we covered all that.
We covered all of it. Man, you did that. That was pro, David.
Keep track of the
That was so pro.
track.
Well done indeed. Well, fantastic question. Thank you, Indiana.
Yes, that was a great question indeed. Thank you, Indiana Lance. And for everyone else out there, continue to send us your questions on Twitter at WGLNA, #mailbag.
All right, guys. And actually, before we go to the break, Dave, you want to pull up stats?
Let's do it.
Let's pull up stats for the last match you guys just saw.
So we have right here Canadian Impact bringing in 3,200, Friction with about 3,200, Germ with 2,500, Militant with 1,900, Kula with 1,600.
Man.
And then over there for Googlybobbers, about 1,800 out of Destruction Mang, 1,700 out of Zone Delta, 1,500 out of 7 Tesla. And there you pretty much have it right then and there. That's pretty much a shooting gallery for Noble. And Canadian Impact, the top damage, I'm okay with.
Shooting gallery for Noble, fantasy points for you. I mean, what else can you ask for in a match? Ladies and gentlemen, that is our first match done. Up next, Ping versus Ding. Don't go anywhere. Before you don't go anywhere, which doesn't make any sense, enjoy this video by the Object 260 by Rival.